Any language is more than an instrument of conveying ideas, more even than instrument for working upon the feelings of others and for self-expression. And then we have dash. It's almost like a para-completion question. It's just a small one. The events of the real world are never felt or respond as a machine would do it. Okay, so we have options. Now let's quickly analyze, right? Topic sentences. So what's the purpose of the language itself, right? It's basically an instrument that conveys ideas, more even than instrument for working upon the feelings of others and for self-expression. So more than this, it's an instrument that conveys ideas, okay? And then the closing sentence says, the events of the real world are never felt or respond as a machine would do it. So it's almost like talking about different things that are happening, right? Comparing events of the real world to how a machine would do certain things in terms of communication, right? So now let's look at our options. We need a sentence that kind of obviously refers to language, but also kind of gives an idea about the closing sentence, right? It's a bridge between these two. Let's look at our options. Option 1, common sense hold that different languages are parallel methods for expressing the same thoughts. Okay. 2, the lack of true equivalences between two languages is merely the outward expression of differences between two people. Okay. 3, every language is also a means of categorizing experience. 4, there is a selection process and an interpretation in the very act of response. Okay. Now let's go back and quickly look at these contexts. Now, some of the sentences that I will immediately eliminate are option 2 and 4. I'll tell you why. Option 2 says, the lack of true equivalences between two languages is merely the outward expression of differences between two people. Now, this is very, very specific, but the closing sentence of the context, right? And the general topic sentence also is not really bringing in people into the context yet, right? Maybe this can be a sentence somewhere, I don't know, later on in the passage, right, from a larger context. So since this is not closely related to either the topic sentence or the specifically related to the topic sentence or the closing sentence at hand, I will quickly eliminate option 2. I will also eliminate option 4. There is a selection process and an interpretation in the very act of response. Selection process, interpretation, no. The topic sentence just says language, instrument to convey ideas. Last one says there is a difference in terms of, real world and machine world, right? Now let's go back and look at 1 and 3. 1 says common sense hold that different languages are parallel methods for expressing the same thoughts. Here again, keep in mind, thoughts only people have. Machine doesn't have thoughts, right? It's the input fed in by the person. So here, I would go back and fall on 3 for the simple fact that it says every language is also a means of categorizing experience. The experiences of the real world as well as the experience that you feel in terms of a machine. So it's a great example because right now, look at us, right? Yes, I'm there physically. We're using the help of a machine. The experience is different, right? We're not in a classroom setting. Right? Communication is still happening. We're not in a classroom setting. I'm somewhere, right? And you guys are somewhere elsewhere. So right now what we're doing is a classic example of how language is playing the universal language right now. That's what we're conveying in English. Instead of conveying ideas, right? So here I would go with 3 as my option. Any language is more than an instrument of conveying ideas, more even than an instrument for working upon the feelings of others and for self-expression. Every language is also a means of categorizing experience. So the events of the real world are never felt or respond as a machine would do it. This makes more sense for me. I would align more with option 3, right?